Right, so finally an update on the Golf project that I bought a little while ago. Now, a few of you will have seen the video where I adjusted the gear linkages because the seller reported a few issues with this car. One of them was a major brake fault, and there's plenty of evidence that he's tried to bleed the brakes to resolve that issue. There was a Gunson Easy Bleed kit in the car, and there was also brake fluid, and there's a pot with like drained off brake fluid and stuff like that. There's a massive stop brake error warning on the dashboard, and the other issue he reported was with the gearbox. So when we got the car, it wouldn't go into reverse at all, and every other gear was fairly stiff. So I've adjusted the gear linkages, as I say, you saw on the previous video. It now goes into reverse, it finds every gear, and it engages drive. So for now, that problem is sorted. So the idea with this car, as I said before, I am going to make it like a brand spanking new car. So basically everything that needs repairing or replacing is going to be taken care of. Loads of refurb work. The interior is going to almost be brand new. So I want it like a brand new Mark IV. But before that, I want to be able to get it road legal, give it a good shakedown, take it for an MOT so I can see that if there's any pre-existing issues that I need to fix before it all goes back together as a brand new car. Because invariably there's going to be some things like this braking issue. I want to know what the fault is, what the problematic equipment in the system is, so that I can resolve that before it comes to putting it all back together as a brand new car and having that problem. So inside then, under the bonnet, what we have, the brake reservoir has no fluid in it. So the first thing we're going to do, and this is why this is episode 1, we're going to try and sort this fault or diagnose what it is. So we're going to fill the system up with fluid, bleed off all the brakes, and then test it, and then we'll plug it into the diagnostics and see what we get as far as codes come back for the braking system. So let's get to it, let's get some fluid in it, get the wheels off and bleed it as we go. So first thing then, we're going to get some fluid into this reservoir, and we're going to fill it up and give it a few minutes just to make sure it's not pouring out all over the floor through one of the wheel cylinders or calipers or something like that. And then we can go from there. If that's holding fluid and it's all sealed, then we can start the bleeding process from the furthest wheel away from the cylinder, which is obviously the back left, and then you go back right, front left and front right. You go furthest to closest, so we'll bleed it in that sequence, take all the air out and see exactly where we are with it. So let's just get this up and get this back wheel off now. First corner for bleeding. Yeah, we're good there, Dan, keep going. One more. Okay, that's giving me enough room to get the wheel off. Right. Right, so now we're set up to bleed this first corner. All I'm going to do is unlock this bleed nipple. Just being careful because it's not lubricated, so I just want to make sure I crack it square. There we go. I'm going to take it round to about the shock, and I'm just going to gently apply some vacuum to see if we can pull any of that fluid through. So all we've got is air at the minute, which is not surprising because the system was absolutely rammed full of it. Right, I'm going to drop the vacuum off. I'm going to open that bleed nipple just a little bit more. We're going to need probably quite a wide channel for this to come through. Okay, we've got quite a bit of vacuum on there, nothing's moving just yet, so let's just see if taking that nipple a little bit more. Ah, there we go, we've got signs of fluid now. So we can open this up quite wide, to be fair, and really start pulling that fluid through. Right, I'm just leaving the vacuum on there just to try and drag all the air through. We've got some movement down at the bleed nipple here, so we're going in the right direction. Let's go a little bit wider if I can. Without kind of taking it all the way out. Right, as we can see, we've got loads of movement now and tons of air still in there. So we're going to keep going until we get nice solid fluid in that pipe, and then we can lock this one off and move on to the driver's side rear. Right, as we can see, brake fluid should not be that colour. So we're going to dump this out now just so we can keep track of what's coming out.
Why is it green?
It's nasty. It's because it's done for. So it's obviously, you know, brake fluid has a particular boiling point, and eventually when it gets there and breaks down, it just boils every time you put pressure on it, and it just changes the colour and breaks the fluid down. So that's what's happened with this. So once you've got nice clear fluid coming through here, we should be golden. Right, as we can see then, this is just pumping and pumping and pumping, taking loads of air out, but we're getting fluid coming through now, so we're not a million miles off from closing this one off and moving on to the next. Right, so I've got this rear passenger wheel then up to the point where we've got solid fluid and no bubbles coming out, and as we can see, more absolute muck taken out of it. So now we've got that one there, we've locked it up, we're going to empty the reservoir, we're going to move on to the driver's rear wheel, then the passenger's front, then the driver's front, and at that point we should be hopefully in a position where we've got functioning brakes. Well, that rear suspension sounds nice and creaky, so that's another thing we've got to have a look at. Okay, that'll do, Lucian. Let's get this wheel off. Okay. Well, that was nicely stuck on. I'm so glad I'm making this car like a brand new one. Right. Okay, back to it then. Clean off some of the equipment. Okay, we've been treated to a dust cover on this bleed nipple. Let's just see about cracking it off before we do anything else. Oh yeah, that's moving nicely. The pipe, if you will, Dan. Okay, this one's a lot quicker. We've already got a nice amount of fluid and air coming through. But it's looking like a much healthier flow of fluid on this one, so. Can't catch it. Oh yeah, you can see it. Just unlock it a bit more. That should rip through now, that.
Upstairs, isn't it? It's holding back in better this soldier.
Excellent.
A lot better, look at that.
Yeah, that's actually pulling through. Oh, lovely. Okay, so that should really pull all that air through then. So it's a tedious process, this, for sure, but it's one that's worth doing properly because, you know, you don't ever want to take that risk with brakes and having air left in there. Whilst they might still work, they're spongy and they're just not effective, or not as effective as what they are when you've got properly bled brakes. Right, so rear driver's side then, as we can see, solid fluid in the pipe now, no air left. So this one is done, we're ready to move on to the passenger side front. So passenger side front then, just unlocking the bleed nipple, and then we'll get some vacuum on. Let's see if we can get somewhere close to the end of this job and get this car start driving and stopping. Okay. Okay, we've got a lot less air on this front corner. Okay, that has bled really quickly. I mean, that is just with a few pumps. As you can see, we've still got a good amount of vacuum on there, and we're getting almost no air come through there. So the problem undoubtedly was with the rears. There's a couple of tiny bubbles, but nothing major. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. And as we can see, the fluid's a lot cleaner than it was. It's pulled some of the old rubbish out of this front hose, but the fluid's so much cleaner than it was. Obviously, as we get closer to the reservoir, that's going to happen anyway. Oh, there's a little bit of air coming through. As we can see, though, considerably less than what it was on the rear corners. Okay, yeah, that's trickling down to nothing, so minute or so we'll be able to lock that off and move straight to the driver's side. Okay, so that's our passenger side front done then. On to the last one now, and hopefully we'll have a car that stops instead of ploughing into obstacles. Right, driver's side front then, fourth and final wheel. Man, this gets tiring as you get older. Oh, that must be a 10. All the others are 11s and this one is not.
It is.
I don't know if it is, I think it's just rusty. The 11's flying around on it.
It's rounded.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's rounded.
Oh come on, this is what happens when people don't know what they're doing. Is that adjustable just off there, Dave? Off the heater, please.
Big one.
Yeah, that'll do. Thank you. Right. When you come up against a rounded bleed nipple, calls for desperate measures. Well, I think I know I'm going to have to change this bleed nipple, that's for sure. Yeah, that is not gripping at all. Oh, wonderful. Simply wonderful. Right, driver's side front was a bust. So somebody has rounded the bleed nipple off and just left it completely exposed, and unfortunately I can't get to it. So I'm probably going to be replacing all 4 calipers on this car anyway, but this means this one's going to have to be replaced sooner rather than later. But we've got 3 very successfully bled brakes, so I'm going to try and just see if I've got any pedal or if I've got any kind of indication of the faults going away or what the faults were in the first place, whether they're servo related or whether it was just a case of low fluid, because on these Mark 4s it flashes up with a big stop warning, so people can overreact sometimes when there's not actually a problem, try and bleed the brakes and cause huge issues. So we'll give it a go, we'll see where we are, and then we'll plug it into diagnostics and see what that brings up. Right, so one problem's gone. The massive stop brake fault light has gone away, so that's a bonus. And we've got pedal, albeit a little bit spongy, because I still think that right front corner, the revs aren't dropping as much now either when you touch the brake pedal, because I was thinking there was a mad servo issue, which obviously would relate to the servo check valve when you touch the brakes if the revs drop, but really they're not moving now, and I think mainly the warning was because of the fluid level, because they do go crazy on these. So first things first, I'm going to give it a spin out the gate and back down the yard and around the estate just to see how it is and how it stops. So keep your fingers crossed. I can definitely say that this goes now and stops, albeit not brilliantly because the discs and the pads and everything have rusted up, but as you can see, foot on the brake, that works. So let's give it a real test. Yeah, I feel confident and comfortable stopping now. Okay, well, it goes and it stops. That is fantastic. Well, there we go, brakes, it stops. And it goes down the road all right as well. It's probably not quite as pokey as what it could be, but there again, it hasn't been running ages, and there's plenty of work to do to this to get that brake horsepower pushed up. So, episode 1, we've got our brakes back. It drives, it stops. So I think the next thing then, let's get it through an MOT, see what it passes or fails on, and then we can get it run home and back a few times and really get a feeling for what it's like on the road and where those major problem areas were or are. So, as always, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more updates on this car. It's going to be an epic project. We're going to make it like a brand new Mark 4, as I said earlier, but keep your eyes peeled. Click that notification bell because you'll get all the notifications for the new videos on this and other projects. But until then, legends, take care and we'll see you in the next one.